you start with Metal Gear Solid? What can you say that hasn't been said? Well, it's probably useful to contextualize my experience of it. It's 1999 and I'm doing my GCSEs, so my future is being decided on how hard I work to pass these exams, making it the perfect time to be distracted by video games. I'm turning 16 in the summer, the weather was unbelievably good that year, right from early spring. Self-destructive life choices were practically a given, one of which being staying off school to finish Metal Gear Solid. I had gone to buy it with my best friend at the time. I'd gotten it from Electronics Boutique in Eldon Square, which was like Game, but much nicer. More like a shop than a club, smelled a lot less of Lynx Africa. I also remember it being cheaper because they were big into the part exchange loyalty scheme stuff that would see you swapping out games every so often for a good amount of money off. Anyway, I got my hands on one of the most hyped, most anticipated, most discussed games ever released that day. It's no exaggeration to say that people were talking about how Snake breathed in this game. He breathed out steam because his environment was cold. There were screenshots and footage and conversations about just this, about just his breath. That's how much people were waiting for this game. We went back to my house and started the game, intending to put in like a few hours, 3 or 4 at most, then we'd stop and do some more some other time. No, that wasn't going to happen. We played the game for 7.5 hours, were forced to stop because sleep is allegedly necessary, according to experts. Then I couldn't possibly not go straight back to it, so I came up with some feeble attempt at faking illness, which succeeded at getting me the day to plough through to almost the end.
Yeah, we did it! We did it, you guys! We're totally heroes.
Almost. It's not a Hollywood movie plot. I did have to go back to school the next day and finish it later in the week. But point is, how much it drew me in, how much it affected and astounded me. I had never felt the need to do anything like that before, even with games I'd utterly adored. This game was the most complete, refined and original blending of the film and video game form I'd ever experienced at that point. We talked about storytelling in games a bit last time because the PlayStation was providing developers with the tools to tell much longer and more complex stories. But there were differing approaches to how you do that. Half-Life tried to do it entirely within the gameplay, designing the world to unfold the story organically as you play through it. Resident Evil took a much more cinematic route, replicating specific cinematic camera work and visuals, in addition to voice performances and fully rendered cutscenes to further the narrative. Metal Gear Solid is perhaps the zenith of that kind of cinematic storytelling on the PlayStation. Every key narrative moment is dripping in Hollywood stylization and cinematography. But it also indulges in some jaw-dropping original moments of meta-narrative play that can only be achieved in an interactive medium. Snake's story couldn't be a film or an older form of video game, it was something new. Now obviously the story itself is not new. Writer-director Hideo Kojima had already had a couple of goes at this on the MSX and the NES, and if you want to go back and play those games, which I don't recommend, you'll be surprised how much of the plot is just recycled wholesale from the original Metal Gear. But of course those systems only allowed for so much story and exposition in lengthy text boxes, making it a challenge to hold gamers' attention through multiple double-crosses, fake-outs and revealed conspiracies. But the tech available to him on the PlayStation just seemed to fully ignite those creative juices and gave rise to his most accomplished and intriguing creation. At the outset, and on the surface, this is just a stealth action game with a generic plot about a tough guy marine type stopping terrorists from launching a nuke.
They're demanding that the government turn over the remains of Big Boss, and they say that if their demands are not met within 24 hours, they'll launch a nuclear weapon.
Kojima loves Hollywood action films, and this is evident in every moment of the game. While the minute-to-minute gameplay often has you looking down on your character in a more traditional bird's-eye perspective, the way the camera sweeps down when you take cover behind a corner, or in the many instances of control being taken away from you for an extended cutscene, it all mimics cinematic form as much as the story setup. So far so fun, and the quality with which this was all done made it feel fresh and new, enough to be a massive hit. But then it goes up a level. You don't think of it much when the characters explicitly talk to Snake about using the action button, it's just tutorials. But it's absolutely baffling when you need to contact a character using a specific codec frequency, and Snake is told to look for it on the back of the CD case.
Oh, that's right. It should be on the back of the CD case. Try to contact her.
I'll contact her right away.
What CD case? You check your inventory, you search every room, You try killing everybody because, it's a video game, that's usually a safe bet. I don't remember whether I figured it out or looked it up, but at some point it became clear that they were talking to me, not Snake. I had to look on the back of the Metal Gear Solid CD box. Not for a clearly signposted code, but in a screenshot that happened to have the codec conversation open with the frequency shown.
Oh, now I get it!
That's one of those moments that people who experienced it at the time simply don't forget. Fourth wall breaking, meta-reference and meta-narratives have become so common to the point of tedium in 2025. But in 1999 this stuff was mind-blowingly cool and original. Now we were in territory of what storytellers can do with games that they can't do anywhere else, and it felt like the dawn of a very exciting new era. They play with this again during the Psycho Mantis boss fight, where he reads your memory card to chat shit about the crap you've been playing, if it's a Konami game.
You like Castlevania, don't you? You enjoy role-playing games.
And mock you for saving the game too much, like the BTEC cook you are.
When your life reaches zero, the game is over. There are no continues, my friend. Don't even think about using auto-fire, or I'll know.
Amazingly, and credit to Kojima for this, none of this playfulness with the form detracts from what actually becomes a pretty, for the time, quite sincere and sobering exploration of the horrors and ramifications of a life spent in war, the staggering and inhuman levels of brutality and corruption in governments, as well as a satisfying over-the-top Hollywood action adventure. How all those things successfully coexisted, I still don't really know, but it just worked.
Not only that, but several pounds of muff are reported every year.
Muff.
You'll notice I haven't mentioned the gameplay yet, and there's a reason for that. The trade-off for all this intricate storytelling and formal experimentation is that the gameplay itself is rather weak. Many people in the years since have dismissed this as practically a movie, with almost no game attached. And while this isn't really a fair criticism, as there is plenty of running around, learning enemy patterns, hiding around corners and fighting, it does tend to feel like a string of cinematic set pieces strung together with brief playing sections that often frustrate more than they delight. Every time you do a bit of running around, hiding or shooting stuff, there's usually a decent length codec conversation or cutscene waiting around the next corner. It'll be entirely up to you whether you like that or not, but as a lifelong fan of film, I loved it. There was enough interaction to make those gaming elements work, even if the controls aren't ideal by today's standards. Snake doesn't have tank controls, but his movement is slow and clunky. Standing, crouching or crawling being set to a toggleable state is an enraging faff, particularly in a stealth game where being spry would be a big advantage. And this is amplified in sections where the controls feel like they're actively fighting you, such as if you're trying to sneak through moving lasers, for example, or guiding a remote control missile around a ton of tight corners to hit a specific target. There's a lot of backtracking too, which quickly removes the novelty and thrill from stealthily avoiding enemies and turns it into a repetitive chore. This is especially true in the bit where Meryl gets wounded and you need to go and get a sniper rifle from pretty much the very beginning of the game. That's not fun. You're not here for the gameplay though, at least you shouldn't be. You're here because ground was being genuinely broken by a visionary given enough creative freedom to make something obviously flawed and divisive. Those are the only things that ever really move us forward. And if you think this one was weird, just wait for the second one.